Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Sunday Surgery stream with myself, Dan. I was going to say Dan and Jason there. Jason obviously isn't here. Me and Dan will be covering all today's actions specifically, but we will also be going through yesterday's results and talking points as ever. We want to try and get you guys involved as much as possible, so if you want to join myself and Dan live on air, you can do by just jumping in on the Discord waiting room and talking about the matches so far, what you thought about this particular game week. It's been a bit from an FPL point of view. It's not exactly been particularly exciting, but from a real life point of view, it's been really, really enjoyable, apart from that Man City game. But we'll get onto that in a minute. Hello, Dan.
Good evening, Steve. How's it going?
Blimey, for a second, I thought you went muted again. I was going to go absolutely ballistic. Yeah, man, you were just chanting away there. We are top of the league. Yeah, we are top of the league. And yeah, absolutely, it was a bit of a... This is the Arsenal game, everybody. It was... I found the game... I'll just give you my personal point of view and I'll just let you take the limelight. I found the game a bit bizarre in the sense of, in the first half, Tottenham were all over you and then you got 2 goals from out of nothing. And then all of a sudden, Werner gets taken off. They replace him with Johnson, who I believe the best front three is Johnson, Kulusevski and Son. To start with, this is. They bring Johnson on. There's a bit more of a fire from Tottenham. Ends up being 3-0 at half time. Gets into the second half. There seems to be a rocket put up Arsenal's backside because they seem to start a bit dominating the game. And all of a sudden, once Richarlison came on the pitch, it was a different story. The game just turned on its head, and even me as a watcher, I'm thinking, oh my, Arsenal could potentially blow this here. I still didn't think they'd lose it. I didn't even think they'd draw, to be honest with you. But certainly I felt that Tottenham were the better team in that particular game, and if it ended up as a draw, I don't think Arsenal fans would have had any complaints. But as an Arsenal fan, Dan, you got the 3 points. Go, talk to us about it.
Yeah, it was a weird game, wasn't it? I mean, obviously at 1-0, Tottenham had a goal ruled out for offside, which was very, very marginal indeed. And yeah, particularly when they were crossing it in, they hit the post as well. Romero was a real threat in this game. But fantastic counter-attacks, goals, obviously that set piece coach worth his weight in gold, and to go 3-0 up, it was but it was almost like we were too comfortable and riled with the moment of madness, and then I think that rippled through the team, and penalty to Tottenham. It was just horrible watching the last 6 minutes of injury time. I could just see it. And funny, because when it was 3-0, I was saying, oh, well, this game's not over. And people were sort of laughing at me. I said, well, I've seen last season us going 2-0 up, drawing 2-2, 4-0 up many years ago, drawing 4-4. Yeah, you just never know in football. And it was nervy, to say the least. But yeah, at the end of the day, we got the 3 points. But unfortunately, we didn't get the favour from Forest, but there's still time to go, and what will be. Really, I'm just delighted to beat Tottenham, but it wasn't, to be 3-0 up. It was just smash and grab a little bit, really, because Tottenham did definitely have their moments, but we were clinical as we needed to be, really. And like you say, second half we had some good moments, but as soon as they got that second goal, it just felt like we sat back a bit and put Kivior on and whatnot. And I think it's just one of those games you just take the win, really, because Tottenham, defensively they're not great, to say the least. So win's a win, and it's happened again, Tottenham.
I just want to quickly say hello to Shaka Makalaka, Dazir, Dilkinson, Animations, Matthew Zaishi, Connor, Lloyd, AJ, Dilginton, FPL Veteran. Good afternoon, Sean. Jesus Christ. Incredible. How do we call in? Just, you've got to be a member of the Discord, basically. There is a link in the description, and then that's it. You just click on the waiting room, and then I just go, what do you want to talk about? It's a very simple process, but you've got to be on the Elite FPL Discord to be able to call into the show. And that goes to anybody that is, like I said, watching into this. If you do want to talk about this game week so far, talk to Dan. By all means, just jump into the Discord waiting room and we will bring you live on air. Lloyd AJ saying, I got rid of Solanke for Haaland and Foden for... I got Solanke for Haaland and I took Foden out for Salah. I don't understand what that means. This is why I don't like reading the chat, to be honest. The chat. This is why I don't like reading the chat. Mr. Reed's here. Good Lord. What brings you along here? You should be wrestling. You should be wrestling at the moment, Mr. Reed. Come on. Oh, come over in a minute. Have a wrestle. Only he understands what I'm talking about here. But yeah, Dan, today it was one of those where you pretty much, we all know that Arsenal have to win every single game. We get that. We knew Man City going into the Nottingham Forest game was a very high chance of them winning. I did think it was going to be tight. I still thought, when I say tight, I mean in the sense of they'll do a professional job and still end up winning 2 or 3-0, end up being 2-0. Did you actually catch any of the game at all?
No, but I did. I was keeping an eager ear, an eye on it, and on, Palace. What am I talking about? Forest had chances, didn't they? Galore from what I was reading online, and I was looking at the record of Forest this season, like I said the other day, and they haven't really been taken apart by anyone this season, and they've got a goal threat and Chris Wood, your player. Yeah, at home, and Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, and they're obviously battling to stay up in the league. So at this point in the season, you've got to look at the team's motivations that they're playing. Like when they play Brighton have got nothing to play for, basically, because they're not going to get in Europe. They're not going to get relegated. But with Liverpool the other day, that was like a derby game. Everton wanting to confirm they're going to stay in the league. And there was something at stake. And so for Forest today, from what I read, that they gave it a real good go. And but at the end of the day, City came through, didn't they?
Yeah, it annoys me because even though the result goes in favour of Burnley, I wanted Nottingham Forest to get a minimum of a draw, basically not lose, to help you guys in that vein to win the Premier League. And I didn't watch the first half because I was out with Steve, and then came home for the second half. Or more specifically, I came home just before the second half was about to start, and they were showing the so-called highlights, and they showed the first Chris Wood miss kick, and it is just one of those where this is the problem with the smaller teams, is that smaller teams against the big... It was always the same with Burnley. Against the big teams, you're only going to get 1 or 2 opportunities, and when they're really simple opportunities to take, and you still don't take them, they're gone, and you're never going to get them again. The irony is that Chris Wood then got it a second time round. And don't get me wrong, it was an incredible block by Vardiol, but you've got to be putting away these chances. And yeah, I think Nottingham Forest, to be honest, after Haaland scored his second goal and it was Kevin De Bruyne getting the pissing second assist, I'm just like, I'll just piss off. I can't be bothered with this. I'm going out for a quick walk, basically, before we go on air, because I just can't deal with the fact that... Surprise, surprise, the popular FPL assets. When you don't own them, they do something. And when you do own them, they do jack shit. It gets on my nerves, Dan, to be completely frank. And the goal Haaland scored, he took it very, very well. There's no denying it. This is what happens when you're a world-class striker. You get one opportunity and you put the ball in the back of the net, and that's what he did. The pass from Kevin De Bruyne was just absolute pitch perfect. But the goal that they conceded, even Michael Dawson, he was just angry at the marking for Vardiol. And of course, it was Vardiol that scores. It could have been any Man City player on the planet, but it has to be Vardiol. And yeah, at the end of the day, Man City got the 3 points, and it's still this continued race at the top where you're 1 point clear of them.
2, but they, let me just check that actually. Like, they've got, oh no, it is 1, sorry, you're right. 1 point, we're 1 point ahead of them. 7 points clear on goal difference, but of course they've got a game in hand. So, I mean, looking at it, I've studied it so much. They got Fulham away. They got Wolves at home next weekend. Sorry, they'll beat Wolves easily. They got Fulham away. They'll beat Fulham away easily. They got Tottenham away. We're relying on Tottenham, which is just insane to think about it. The way it is at the moment, Steve-O, is that I'm just looking at all the permutations and like Tottenham are 7 points away from Aston Villa in fourth place. They're 7 points behind, but with 2 games in hand. And of course, their next game is Liverpool away. So I just want Tottenham to go into this game against Man City with something to play for. But I mean, they've obviously got Chelsea away on Thursday evening. They've got you boys on the 11th of May on the Saturday. And then 3 days later, they've got Manchester City on the Tuesday evening. So it's just mad. But of course, we've got our next game against Bournemouth, and we've got to deal with Bournemouth first. So it's just one game at a time.
I certainly did think that overall Tottenham in the second half looked more threatening with, well, it was all 4, wasn't it? Son, Richarlison, Kulusevski and Johnson. Werner is a complete waste of space. I can't get my head around why he starts Werner, to completely frank. He's more of an impact sub. He'd be more better suited, like I say, quite literally coming on in the 70th minute with that pace against tired legs and trying to do some damage rather than, I don't know, there's just something about him I don't particularly like what he does. He seems to be like a baby deer. Legs just all over the place. Can't seem to be able to cross a ball. He certainly can't shoot. And I don't quite get why Postecoglou persists on playing this guy, but he's got an injury now, so he's not going to be playing the next game. So thankfully Johnson, well, I'm assuming it'll be Johnson starting, because like I say, they looked a lot more threatening, and obviously they have got Chelsea up next, who they got a 2-2 draw against Aston Villa. Did you by chance get any watching of that game whatsoever?
Yeah, I watched the highlights. I mean, Chelsea a bit unlucky, really, not to get that third goal. I didn't really think there was much in it with the so-called foul for the third goal that they scored and then was disallowed. But you know, Cole Palmer as well, obviously with the opportunity, and did a nice little dribble into the box, made he run. But the substitute goalkeeper Olsen, I think it was for Villa, making the save. And yeah, I mean, Watkins doing nothing for me, but a pretty interesting, lively game, to be fair. Chelsea kind of bouncing back after getting slapped by us, and sets it all up for Thursday, doesn't it? With an interesting game, Chelsea-Tottenham. It's always a feisty game, isn't it? And you know, myself, yourself, and many people that have got obviously Palmer or Son or double game week assets will be looking at that game and thinking, it'll be an interesting one. So, but overall, I mean, Villa looked like they started very strong and they went ahead, and then, you know, Chelsea coming back into it. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? One goal they got back into it. Madueke, I never even thought about him actually for the double game week. It is a player that I've seen him, and I think he's quite an interesting player. You know, he's got a lot of potential. But Nicholas Jackson obviously having the goal disallowed as well.
Just bringing it round to FPL, so just for anybody listening in the audio, my team so far is on 59 points. Pickford the star man for me. Muniz, Gabriel and Aït-Nouri doing nothing for me. Palmer, couldn't care less about. Son, very, 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 very fortuitous. I'm not going to lie, very fortuitous points, because he didn't look like he was going to be getting anything whatsoever. We then have Johnson, who I thought, look, again, he's a tidy player. He does a job. Needs to work on his crossing, but he does a job. And again, I think him, Richarlison and Son will be the front 3, along with Kulusevski, so a front 4 up against Chelsea. Saka, of course, with a lot of people benching him. Dan, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Nicholas Jackson. Isaac coming through with a double-digit score, and Solanke annoyingly doing nothing in a 3-0 win versus Brighton. Of course, Dan mentioning Brighton being on the beach at the moment, and that's exactly why I predicted Bournemouth to win.
Where they went today?
Yeah, I mean, what I did this week was a -8. I mean, ironically, I wasn't going to do a -8. I was just going to do a -4 and leave the team as it was without bringing in Johnson. So I took Havertz. Of course, I take Havertz out, who then proceeds to bring in a 12-point haul today. I just couldn't make it up. Bringing in Johnson, so I'm missing out massively there. So what's that? 12. I missed out on 15 points essentially with that one stupid move. But I just said to myself, well, you never said you were going to get Jackson in. But I did it anyway, just to take out Darwin because he's just a sack of shit. And Jackson's got, 4 fixtures instead of, 2.5, if I'm lucky, out of Darwin. Whereas with Havertz, it was, well, I don't expect him to do much against Spurs, maybe a goal, but Johnson's starting against them, Chelsea, then he's also got Burnley and Man City, but of course he doesn't start today, and it was just like, even I went on the Spurs X account, and you see the lineup, and Spurs fans are like, why is he not playing one of our best players in Johnson? Like, lots of people were saying this, so a bit of an odd one, a bit of a strange team selection, and maybe that was the problem with the first half, Dan, for Tottenham, is that the team selection was a bit odd, but again, you came out of it on top, and thankfully you went into it 3-0. Because I generally do think, Dan, if Spurs started the way they ended the game, I think they would have caused you a lot more problems.
Yeah, like I said, I mean they were causing us problems, and Romero was a menace in the air. You know, he had opportunities, and they did cause us problems throughout the game, really, with crosses coming in, and we created some of our own trouble at times. But that Saka goal in the counter attack was lovely, and it's funny you mentioned that because I wanted to come to that. So Havertz obviously getting the assist. I mean, I took Havertz out as well, but it gets to the point where it's like when it's my own team, I'm just like, look, I don't care. But with Saka, I kind of celebrated quite a bit with that goal, and I had this horrible sinking realization. Oh shit! I put him on the bench, but
yeah, I know.
I got very lucky. I got very lucky today. Foden, who I brought in, obviously didn't play. Wasn't even in the squad, so I got lucky. I mean, sometimes you have to have a bit of luck in FPL. I mean, I look back at that decision. It's like I look at my midfield. So I've got Gordon, obviously, who hauled.
Well, let me just stop you there. Let me just go through it. So Dan played his wild card. He's got Petrovic in goal, Gabriel, Porro, Walker, Gordon, Foden turns into Saka, Palmer, Sun captain, Solanke, Watkins, Isaac. When I saw your team, Dan, and I saw you captain Son, I was thinking, I'm surprised you didn't go with Palmer. What was the thinking behind Son?
Well, I mean, Son's got a good record against us. You know, he returned in the reverse game, and I expect it to be a high-scoring game on Thursday. Really, that's all the thinking is. And obviously, Palmer's just come. I know he's just come back from illness, not injury. But I mean, Palmer could have scored last night, couldn't he? Near the end. So yeah, that was the thinking. I mean, I don't think Son had a brilliant game, really, did he? But it was a bit fortuitous, and sometimes you need luck. I mean, I was talking about the decision today, like resting Saka, benching Saka. Sorry, I'm talking as if I'm a real life manager here. But then I look at it and like Solanke at home to Brighton, Watkins at home to Chelsea. I mean, Saka had the hardest game, really, when you think about it. And yeah, obviously as an Arsenal fan, I'm over the moon. But that is the game of FPL where you're ecstatic at one moment and that horrible realization sinks in. But, you know, it's worked out all right in the end, really. Obviously, Walker came through. I was pleased about that to a degree, you know. Petrovic, I've got him in, obviously, and I'm like, you know, because of the double game week, and I sort of look at it and I think, yeah, maybe that was a bit of a stupid decision. So that's the only decision I'm a bit like, yeah, but obviously it's a double game week. Again, game week 37. So for the bench boost, that'll work because obviously Onana plays. I mean, Onana against your boys yesterday bailed them out a few times, played really well. So that bodes well for game week 37. And yeah, Burnley unlucky not to take all 3 points as I nearly successfully predicted on Friday evening.
I've just seen the Torbay Elite League and I'm level on points with Dale. It's like Dale's given up. It's really annoying me because he did a -4 this week. He's got nobody on his bench. He's got Bradley, Bell. Oh no, he's got Mengi coming off for 1 point. And he's got Saka on the bench. He's only got Son and Palmer for the upcoming fixture. And he's a bit... I don't know what Dale's going to be doing because he's looking a bit... I don't know. Let me just quickly see his chips. Oh, he's got his fucking wild card.
The hell better me. Take a bow. That's a horrible. Oh, it's not. I don't know why I'm laughing because he's probably going to finish above me now.
That's really frustrating because when you think that there's an opportunity to take over one of your rivals, and then you see that they got a wild card which he's going to play next week, that's a categorical fact. For then game week 37 to play the bench boost. Well, then that means I'm definitely not going to be catching up. There's no way in hell. And then between me and you, admittedly, I've got to add the 10 points on for... You're on 286. I'm on 229. So, yeah, whatever that works out to be 60 odd points clear of me, Dan. You will be. And it is going to be literally down to my triple captain on double game week 37. And I genuinely don't know who I'll be triple captaining that particular game week. I'll be doing I'll tell you my transfers now. So this week I'm going to do a -4, and I'll be bringing in Haaland and KDB for Saka and Solanke. That's what I'm probably going to be doing this game week. Although, saying that, the fact that Arsenal are at home to Bournemouth, I think just bringing in... It's a really difficult decision for me to do. I need to wait on news on Eze. If I hear Eze is definitely not going to be playing against Man United, then it will be Haaland and KDB in for Eze and Haaland, basically. But I'm kind of screwed in this FPL thing, and it's just now... Mini leagues are dead, and can I just try and get a more respectable overall rank? Because for you, you're still... I mean, is this the best season you've had in the Torbay Elite? I can't remember you ever being this close in the top 4.
I think it is, but ironically, it's not my... Well, we'll see what happens, because there's, obviously the next few game weeks to go. I mean, my top rank is, from memory, 160k. So that was the first season we properly streamed, I think. I think I'm right in saying that. Obviously, at the moment, I'm 564k. But less teams in the league this season as well. I suppose that's factor in. But yeah, just like from my perspective, it's just wanting to finish the season well, and I mean, Jermaine's bloody overtaken me, but I can still catch him. I'm just looking at his team now. This is the player above me for those listening on audio. He's got Saka, Son. He's got Haaland, but yeah.
His team is for this double game week. He's got, well, it's the same as most really. Palmer and Son, and then Gusto. I mean, I don't know what the extent of his injury is or the reason as to why he's out. I mean, it says knee injury here. I don't know what that means. It could mean anything. But Gusto not playing, so he's got Palmer and Son captain left, so exactly the same as you. It's almost as if they listen into the stream, Dan. Okay, moving on to yesterday. Any standout? I suppose you called it. Burnley to beat Man United. It ended up as a draw. What a result! Dan seems to have vanished.
I'm here.
Did you hear that, Dan?
No, you just went quiet on me. I was like, okay, all right.
I was just saying about yesterday's results.
Mm.
The standout one stating the bloody obvious, is us drawing with Man United, and you called it. You did say that you think we could have beaten them, and by all accounts, if Onana didn't have the game of his life, to be fair, if Muric didn't have the game of his life as well, but yeah, we could have done some damage to Man United yesterday.
Yeah, this is why I avoid the scores, because I watched it this morning and it was a very enjoyable watch, really. And I thought Burnley played well and they had opportunities, and Onana made some great saves. United towards the end obviously had opportunities as well. It was quite end to end, but I felt confident in Burnley, like based on their recent form and what the highlights have seen. And United are no great shades. It's like the fortress or whatever is now long gone. So they're always going to concede chances. And with a bit more composure in front of goal, it could have been a different story. But you must be pleased with the performance.
It's just frustrating that if Vincent Kompany hadn't experimented the first 5-6 months, we would be nowhere near in this position. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute we're going to be pushing for Europe. We would have been pushing for Europe, but I reckon we'd have been like 15th, 14th, 15th, as I predicted at the start of the season. Unfortunately, due to his stupid experiment. Imagine Arteta, Dan, every week changing his players left, right and centre. Putting players into positions which are like putting Saka at right back and then putting Trossard over on the right wing and putting Jorginho in at centre back and then putting Gabriel in the middle of the park. It's just bizarre. And then playing, I know they got Raya in, who is the better goalkeeper, but imagine him playing Ramsdale all season. Ramsdale's a very good goalkeeper, but compared to Raya, it's a completely different story. And I think that if that was the case with Arsenal, you're not going to be top of the league. You're going to be 8th, 9th, with all the chopping and changing if Arteta was there. Of course he doesn't do that. He plays his best team like every single quality team does, their best team week in, week out. And if they need to fix a few holes here or there, they plug it with a better quality of, a like-for-like player. For some reason, Kompany decided, no, I'm just going to experiment with certain players in different positions, and it's just completely... And even worse was not playing some of the championship-winning players at the start of the season. That is the most ridiculous, ludicrous decision I, along with many Burnley fans, think. And it was just bizarre. Start the season with some of our championship-winning players, and if they're not performing, slowly bring in the players that we've actually brought. But instead, it was just now chuck them all at the deep end. All these 18, 19-year-old kids that are up against these Premier League quality sides and getting battered every week. And it's no coincidence that over the last several game weeks, we're sticking to the same team. We've brought back the goalkeeper that was bringing confidence into the back line. And we've only lost once in the last 7 or 8 now. And that result yesterday, I was half an hour behind on the United stand. So by the time it got to about 5:15, I was literally in the transport yard, just like, please tell me we won, please tell me we won, please tell me we won. And when Mark Goldbridge said, it's full time now, the sigh of relief, I just couldn't believe it. So we are at this stage now where we're 2 points off Nottingham Forest. I think that is the case, and it's looking likely, Dan. It is looking likely that it is going to... You couldn't make it up. The last game of the season is actually against Nottingham Forest at home. Wow. And it's looking likely that... we're 2 points off Nottingham Forest. It's looking likely that it could end up with the final day of the season being us against Nottingham Forest, and whoever wins the game stays up. Now, they do have Sheffield United, which the fact that they've been relegated, they got nothing to play for, which ironically it will probably end up them performing really, really well. But They got Sheffield United next. Nottingham Forest away from home are terrible. Sheffield United at home are terrible. So it's got 0-0 written all over it, to be completely frank. But yeah, it's quite extraordinary. And going to Old Trafford, I know we've done it before in the past, gotten the odd result here or there, but predominantly we do nothing against Man United. And I think that's the second time in now 7 games we've got now 2 points out of a possible 18, 21 points. We've got 2. So, yeah, very, very pleased with that. And it's just building that momentum now. But I think it's just come too late. I still think, unfortunately, we probably are going to end up going down. Obviously, Newcastle yesterday, Dan, coming out 5-1. Like you mentioned, Anthony Gordon getting you 2 assists.
Yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant at home this season, hasn't he, really? And great signing for Newcastle. The funny thing is, obviously, Isaac getting the goals and the bonus points and whatnot. And I joked about captaining him as a top quality single game week player with a great fixture in comparison to Son or Palmer. And it's kind of come back to haunt me, that comment. I'll have to see what Son does on Thursday night. But yeah, I mean, Sheffield United, they obviously took the lead and they had other opportunities. They just went clinical, and Newcastle just took them to the sword. And I mean, obviously, I've troubled up on Newcastle assets at the moment. Got some great fixtures towards the end of the season. Still playing to get into Europe. So they got. I think that's the thing, Steve-O, is players and teams. What are their motivations at this point in the season? And Newcastle's was high yesterday. They're finishing on a high. You know, Callum Wilson back in the team, getting a nice goal. And for Sheffield United, they just haven't had the quality. You know, Chris Wilder came in and they've had some spirited performances recently at Anfield, at Old Trafford as well, and a couple of notable wins during the season. But unfortunately, they've had some absolute horror shows. You know, the Newcastle game we mentioned earlier in the season, the 8-0. The 6-0 against us, and I feel for Sheffield United, but I'm sure they'll regroup and come back stronger next season. But great return to Newcastle assets once again.
Any other points of view you want to bring up about yesterday before we move on?
And
can you hear me, Dan? Okay, we seem to be having problems with Discord here. I don't know what's going on. I'm praying it's not my end, because this is just... You hear me, Dan?
I've just connected. I was really happy with the way I eloquently expressed myself then, and then it just went quiet at the end, and I was just like, did you hear any of that about my Newcastle Sheffield United?
Yeah. I just asked you a question about, is there any other points of view you want to talk about from yesterday? Any standout results? Anything? 2-2 between West Ham, Liverpool, Everton winning 1-0?
Yeah. I mean, the Liverpool. I mean, it was an interesting game, wasn't it? With the when Areola put the ball down, and the ref blew the whistle again. I think was it Gravenbach or someone wanted to score or take the opportunity, and they blew the whistle for that one, even though there was no real need to. So that was a bit of a controversial decision. I mean, Robertson coming through for people who had him, Diaz as well, but of course Salah not starting. There was the kind of trouble on the sideline as well, which I didn't really like seeing that, because
what was that all about?
Well, they were bringing these subs on with, what was it, like 12 minutes to go or whatever it was, and then obviously West Ham scored in the process of bringing the subs on before they could come on. And I think, I guess, I mean, I haven't read into it or looked into it, but I think Salah was like, I would assume that he was saying, well, too little, too late kind of thing. But I didn't really like seeing that, like I say, because Klopp's only got a few games left, and even as a fan of a rival team, I didn't like seeing it personally myself.
There's a lot of you watching right now. If you are enjoying the stream, make sure you are hitting the like button. It does actually genuinely help. And also, if you are completely brand new around here, enjoy the content myself, Jason and Dan bring you, by all means, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. It would be nice just to show your support by just hitting a subscribe button or hitting the like button. Shall we bring on a caller, Dan?
Go for it, man. Yeah.
On animations. And if you do want to come live on air, the waiting room is there. It's open. You just have to jump into the Discord, get into the waiting room, and if you want to talk to me and Dan about yesterday or today, by all means, just like Animation is doing. Good evening, Animations.
Yo, how's it going, boys?
Good evening. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to obviously talk about my team and about the title race a little bit and just in general, see how everything's going.
Okay, what do you want to talk about your team then?
Yeah, so this week I ended up taking a decently big hit in obviously FPL terms, ended up taking a -12, and in just to be frank, in general, obviously it hasn't paid off, but I've done the hits just to make sure that when we get to phase 7, I won't have to take many hits then. You get what I mean?
What was the transfers then?
Yeah, so essentially what I ended up doing was I took out a doggy because he was injured. He's obviously injured for the rest of the season, and I brought in Pedro Porro. I took out Gusto because I didn't feel like I wanted to have double Chelsea defence, and I wanted to leave myself open to get Jackson down the line. So I took Gusto out for Fabian Schär, who's obviously now he came off at half time with obviously like a little niggle or something. I don't know what happened there, but anyway. And then
Well, he's going to be out basically. That's what you need to know. He's dead.
oh well, then yeah,
He's dead.
Yeah, we'll get on.
He died.
And stuff. Yeah. So and then obviously the other two moves I ended up doing was I took out a big one in Mo Salah because as soon as I shouted to FPL Juice when I was watching their stream with Tom and what's his name? I forgot the other
Adam.
guy, but yes, that's it. Yeah. So when I was watching that, when I heard that Salah wasn't starting, I ended up bringing in Bruno Fernandes because I saw the Burnley fixture, and I thought in general, Man United, from what I was hearing on Twitter, was Fernandes was one of the best players on the pitch in that game, and he could have easily have had a goal or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was feeling like that transfer was very popular, and I was very happy with that. So yeah, and then obviously the last move was obviously I brought in Phil Foden very last minute for Saka, and obviously Saka ended up getting the 12-pointer. So obviously that didn't go down entirely well. But
why did you do that move? All the other moves I completely understand, but Foden in for Saka, I don't quite see the point in that.
Well, yeah, it's kind of along the lines of a little bit like what Dan did, benching him because it was a tougher fixture, and all these other players had good ones. And I just thought if I get Foden now, the only real proper fixture I'd really miss Saka for would be Bournemouth at home. Obviously, because Foden didn't start this week, but obviously it was only down to apparently him not feeling well. So I'd imagine in that instance, Phil Foden will probably be back this week for the Wolves at home game. And I just think if City are trying to, obviously City and Arsenal are both trying to fight for the title, obviously in general, but I just think City aren't going to let their gas off the pedal, as they say. And I still think they're going to go and get more goals. I mean, they might not get as much as Arsenal, and they have Bournemouth, but I just thought I'd go for that risk, and obviously it hasn't paid off, but I haven't dropped that much in rank, so I mean I'm pretty happy with it in general, to be fair.
Dan, Bruno Fernandes, does he worry you for next week's match? Because I'm telling you this, when are they? It's the following week. Sorry, I genuinely fear that Man United are going to cause you problems. I don't know what it is about Man United and the big teams. They seem to do okay, and at Old Trafford, they're no mugs.
Yeah, I mean the record against Man United at Old Trafford is appalling. So, if memory serves me right, since 2006, when Emmanuel Adebayor got a winner with 4 minutes to go, we've won there once, and that was Aubameyang. That was during the lockdown times, 1-0 win. 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. I don't think we've won there. We won there in the FA Cup. I think it was like a quarter-final, and Welbeck got the winner. So yeah, our record there is not good at all. We got beaten 3-1 there last season. I know what you mean. They do turn up in those sort of bigger games, if you like, And Fernandes is playing very well, creating lots of chances, and could have scored yesterday. And yeah, I mean, it will be a tough game, but we've got Bournemouth next, so we've got to deal with Bournemouth. But the thing that gives me hope is United do concede a lot of chances. So if we can be clinical like we can be, we can beat them. But it won't be an easy game by any stretch of imagination.
I'm just looking at the YouTube chat league. Tom, you are 2 points off Karma Baby, 5 points behind Michael Svedin. Rob Jones is 13 points clear of you in 10th. There's nothing in it. You are 4 points ahead of... Sorry, you're 1 point ahead of Max Roberts and 4 points ahead of Nick Treadwell, which is where the kind of the cut-off point kind of is. I mean, Brandon Saunders there is 10 points, 9 points behind you. And I say that, it's extremely tight. I mean, you are doing very well in the YouTube chat league. And to be completely frank, your team, like you said, is all set up for next week and then moving into the double game week 37. What's your plans with Darwin? Is he out the door for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. 37. He'll probably just go to Nicholas Jackson. But yeah, this week I don't know. It's a bit of a sticky one. Obviously, if the share injury is bad, I've got to get rid of him. I think, because there's no way I'm playing Semedo against City, and Van Heck's obviously out for the season, which is another decision that obviously I didn't think would go well. So like a topic that I was going to discuss was with the City defence, like because Gavardio and Walker have played a majority of the games this season. Is it worth bringing in one of them for Van Heck? And then do I start them over Share this week, or should I bench Porro? That was the only other decision that I was thinking.
Dan, Vardio, is he a rotation risk? Because I don't see why he would be.
I don't think so. I mean, City gonna... I don't know. I mean, I can't read the mind of Pep, but I think he should be okay.
At the end of the day,
It's always... I don't know if you can still hear me. Sorry. It's always a bit of a risk. I mean, I brought in Walker, and even I'm a little bit concerned, but...
He's playing every game, Dan.
I would like to think he's playing the game, yeah.
There's no way in hell Pep... I mean, he can drop Walker, but Walker, I think, is one of Guardiola's warriors on the pitch. He's one of the players that can maybe... He's experienced in that field where he can calm the team down, even though ironically is subject to a few lapses in concentration. Even today, Hudson-Odoi was having a bit of fun with him, and also another player got past him a few times, but Walker is one of the safer things. And I think Vardio, with his form at the moment as well. I mean, are you really wanting a City defender, are you, Animations? You're not thinking of potentially bringing in a City midfielder, but then again, you're not really going to be getting rid of any of those particular individuals, so really it is going to be down to a City defender.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's trying to prep for the bench boost, and I think everyone on my bench besides Anana probably has to get gone. Like, Darwin is useless, Semedo, useless, and then obviously Van Heck's injured, so we'll just see what happens with that. And then obviously with Share, if I don't see anything positive, I'll probably just do a -4 and I'll bring in Dan Burn and just stick with it.
Disappointed with Palmer not getting anything? Did you watch the match?
Yes, I did, and to be fair, I was very disappointed. I mean, I think Chelsea should have probably got the 3 points from that game. I mean, the foul at the end, like, I don't know if obviously if you guys watched it. I mean, was that a foul? Was he pushed? That's the main question. I mean, I just think, I think Chelsea should have definitely got that. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, Spurs have been leaky at the back, and obviously they haven't got Doggy and all these other defenders, and I do think he'll do something. I mean, when Son scored, I did first think about you catching him, Steve, and I did see that clip of him scoring the penalty. It did make me laugh, I can't lie.
To be fair, that was a very fortuitous point. Son was non-existent in that game. To be completely frank, he runs around a lot, but I don't watch Spurs and go, oh my God, Son puts the fear of life in me, whereas Richarlison does. He looks a threat. As much as I slag off Werner, because he is useless, he looks more of a threat. Kulusevski, basically everybody looks more of a threat than Son. Son, don't get me wrong, he works his arse off for Tottenham, but he's never in the positions where I'm like, oh my God, please don't be there, please don't be there, please don't be there. He's just anywhere but in the dangerous areas. And there was never at any point today where I thought Son's getting something here. And anybody that's captain Son, I know John did, obviously you did, Dan, very fortuitous with the penalty there. And they're up against Chelsea. They like I say they like playing Chelsea. The history doesn't suggest that at all. But it's a game in which I personally have got it as Chelsea to win in a very high-scoring game. I think that Chelsea are going to take advantage of Tottenham's very poor defending. And unfortunately, I do think that Palmer, captainers, which is a lot, will be coming out on top. Anything more to add, Animations?
I was just gonna. The only other thing I'd add is I just wanted to thank you for having me on the Wednesday night stream with the Palace game during the double. I just thought, I just wanted to say thank you and thanks for having me on air. And
the crappiest.
Oh yeah, no, but that Kirker stuff, mate, you can't make that up, mate. That's just
What's that? Sorry.
I said you just can't make that Kirker stuff up, mate, with the red card and the assist.
No. And this season has felt like every week has been in the kick in the balls for me, to be completely frank. It'd even take today as a prime example. It's like you've got all this hope where you're like, oh, thank God, Arsenal have won. This is great. But Son scored, brilliant. And then you're going into the Man City game where it's, oh my God, Haaland's not even playing. He's not even started. Foden not even started. This is brilliant. This is almost going my way. And then, I come home and then I see that, of course, Kevin De Bruyne has got an assist for Vardy on. It's just like brilliant. And then Haaland comes on. And when you've seen how the game within reason has gone, where Nottingham Forest have had those opportunities to maybe not necessarily put the game to bed, but certainly score, and they haven't. And then you see Haaland just scores the way he does. You just roll your eyes and you're just like, great. So me having Son captain has meant absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the mini league, because most people own Haaland. Solanke annoyingly not getting anything in a 3-0 win is very frustrating personally, because I thought that was a prime game for Solanke to maybe actually get a double-digit haul today. But as we know, he did nothing, and he's going to be gone for Haaland anyway for this week. So that was his last game for me. What do you think of those moves anyway? Haaland and Foden in for either Eze or Saka next week. Sorry, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I think they're good moves, mate. I think City have got a prime fixture at home against Wolves, and then they've got the double. I think I'd do it. I mean, has Jason still got him? I mean, I did see your short saying that Jason transferred the same players as you.
Yeah, you couldn't make it up. I generally could not make that up. That Jason brought. Well, two of the three that he did were identical to me, and I mean, from my point of view, it blocks him off. But my rivalry with Jason is dead now because he's so far behind. What do you make of that, Dan, actually? I know, like, obviously Jason's had a newborn and he's got a new job and whatnot, but he's still playing the game and he's just fallen off a cliff.
I think it's fantastic, Steve-O. I'm over the moon about it. No, I don't know. I think it's probably, to be fair to Jason, it is one of those when real life takes over scenarios. But he has still been playing the game. But I guess, when you're not streaming as much, because obviously of, more pressing responsibilities taken over, maybe previously the streaming helped clarify his thought processes to make better decisions, I guess, really. Because that's what he's been doing the last few years, is always streaming. So less time to think about it. I mean, at this stage of the season, you do need to put a lot of thought into it with double game weeks coming in. And, when there's more important things going on in life, you're going to not have the time to do that, I guess. So, but who is your rival now, Steve-O? Well,
it's you and Dale. You and Dale probably. I want to take over Dale, but the fact that he's got his wild card and then bench boost, it's probably going to be impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise he still had his wild card. To be fair, that's some scary shit for me, and you having triple captain as well. So there's still a lot to play for. Really, it's it really is that interesting part of the season, and just at the moment, all I'm just thinking. I mean, I know you've got Johnson, I've got Porro. Differentials to the rest of this double game week, but it just moves on to the next game week, and they just come thick and fast. And I just say bring it on. But now I've got to think about my bench boost for double game week 37 as well.
Just want to say thank you to Animations for coming on. Really do appreciate it. And if you do want to come live on air, it's quite simple. The Discord is there. It's live and waiting. You just need to jump into the waiting room, and we will bring you live on air to talk about your team. We're not going to be on long for long, so if you do want to come live on air, now is your opportunity to do so. But yeah, talking of this upcoming double game week 37, I spoke to death about it. Let's just quickly to go through it again. Some of the interesting fixtures will be obviously Man City away on both occasions, at Spurs, at Fulham. Fulham on the beach at the moment, so I can genuinely see Man City having a field day there. Away at Spurs, history suggests that it's going to be in Spurs' favour, so you never know. Spurs obviously at home to Burnley. I think we'll give them a game, Dan, to be completely frank. I think we could be giving them a game. Then Man United are the other options with Arsenal and Newcastle. Fernandes being the top pick there. And like Animation said, Fernandes was by far the best player on the pitch for Man United. Probably the best player on the pitch, full stop. He was very unfortunate not to get anything against us. Onana, as stated, is keeping us in the game. In fact, the player that I would... The irony is, of course, is that if there were no double game weeks, a player that I would seriously recommend people bringing in would be Muric. Because I said at the start of the season that Muric could be an absolute piece of gold with the amount of points he could potentially be bringing in. Since he's finally come in to the starting 11, these are his points since he's come in, and it ain't too bad. 3, 5, 2, 2, 3, 7, 8. That's what, in 8 games? Dan, he's done exceptionally well. He's just save after save. His distribution of the ball is fantastic. As Jason said about Onana, he would not be surprised if he gets an assist. I wouldn't be surprised if Muric... If Muric had started this season, I can guarantee he would have had at least 1 assist so far. And it's just such a shame that with these double game weeks upcoming and whatnot, that he's not going to be an option. Like a lot of players aren't going to be an option. Even for me, when I look at the team, I could do the stupid thing of getting rid of a double game week player for a double game week player in Johnson. I still need to kind of find out if he is first team or not. He should be first team, but it's more of a case of, do I take Johnson out for a guaranteed double game week player in Fernandes, for instance? But then it's just going to end up with me having a template double game week team in Foden, De Bruyne, Fernandes, Palmer, Son, Haaland, Jackson, Isaac, and it just goes on and on. In fact, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you. The fact that I have got three strikers, it's just a complete minefield, isn't it, Dan?
Oh yeah, definitely. As the quote goes, you can't have them all. I'm thinking about it now, and I'm looking all right for next game week, to be fair. But I did bring in Onana. I didn't really mention that actually, so I've got him for the double game week for those bonus points, hopefully. Yeah, it's that toss up, isn't it? Really, between the various options. I mean, it's impossible, and you can guarantee, Steve-O, that come game week, double game week 37, there's going to be some single game week players that are going to outperform some of these double game week players, at least. But Man City, yeah, they do have. I know that their record against Spurs away is not great, but I can see goals in that game. So that's definitely an interesting one.
You say about single game week players, Dan. Lucas Dunn here, captain Isaac this week.
Great, yeah, he followed my advice. Yeah, I mean, he's in fantastic form, and he had a great fixture against the worst team in the league. No disrespect, and it paid off. It all made sense, really. And we'll see what Son does on Thursday. But I did sort of mention that potential captaincy on Isaac, but I didn't have the minerals to go through with it. So fair play. It can be the case sometimes,
No, No, it can be the case. And talking of can be the case, I'm just going to quickly go over the Super Cup designed by Firetog. We are in the semi-final stage at the moment. Once it loads up, I'll be able to bring it to you right now. And those semi-finalists are, I'm sure Karma Baby's in it. I'm certain of it. I'm sure Karma Baby got through. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'm completely wrong. He was beaten, wasn't he, by Zvonka? That's why I got confused. So this week in the semi-finals, we got Zvonka against Denver, 69 points to 55. Now then, Zvonka's team is as follows. Once this all loads up, I'll be able to tell you exactly what Zvonka's team is, because this is when it's getting to the grueling stage. Denver not particularly doing great in the overall ranks, but he's certainly doing very well in the Super Cup, getting to the semi-final. And Zvonka's team is, because I've just gone scroll past it, brilliant, isn't it? So here we go with Zvonka's team. Well, actually, he's on 75 points now. So he had Petrovic, Munez, Zabani. Did he not play? You couldn't make it up, could you? Zabani not playing, despite getting a clean sheet today, but he's going to get Braithwaite off the bench, would you believe? With 6 points there. Ain't Nuri, Gordon, Palmer, Saka, Kevin De Bruyne, he captained, Dan.
Balls are still that, man. Balls are still.
Luis Diaz, Haaland, and Isaac making up the last 3 there for Zvonka. Denver, on the other hand, everything's running so slow at the moment. It's really frustrating. I don't know why, but it just is. Denver, on the other hand, let's just see if he's got a few differentials. But the Kevin De Bruyne captain, like you say, a complete differential out of nowhere. I don't know where on earth he got the information to maybe even think about captaining Kevin De Bruyne, but he's done it. Unfortunately, Denver is 20 points, exactly 20 points behind Zvonka. He played his wild card this week. Petrovic, Delo, Burn, Poro, Son, Palmer. Well, another one that captained a single game weeker, Dan. He went with Gordon.
Another great shout. Gordon, an absolute points magnet at home this season. So, yeah, kind of makes sense when you think about it.
He's another one that's going to get Haaland coming off the bench for Foden. He also had Fernandes, Isaac, and Nicholas Jackson. So it's 75 points to 25. In the other semi-final, bloody hell, like Harbour Boy is just about beating Emil Smith-Joe just by, well, as it is on the screen right now, by 6 points. But that could change once I see his points pop up in front of me. He's on 47. Petrovic, Gabriel, Ain't Nuri, Shah, Son, Garnacho, he captain Palmer, Gordon, Foden, Haaland and Isaac. He's got Pedro, though, coming off the bench for Foden. So that's 47 points, minus the 4, so we're down to 43. Whereas Harbour Boy, on the other hand, he's just storming it at the moment. He's on 51. So actually, it's not much in it. It's a very close between these two. Vicario in goal. He had Walker, who got 8 points for you, Dan, as well. Poro, Shah, Foden, but he's got Haaland coming off. Surprise, surprise. Gordon, Palmer, captain, Son, Fernandes, Isaac, and Nicholas Jackson. It is as template as you get, but it doesn't matter because when you're 815th in the world, Dan, it really doesn't matter, does it?
I mean, that's the expert, so that's the guy we need to follow.
I mean, it's absurd, really, being that high up in the world, and it is quite literally just picking the most popular players in the game, and he's got them. And as he stated on Patreon, a lot of fortuitous luck has come into play, but the luck's there, and when you've got the likes of Haaland coming off the bench for someone like Foden, it just says it all, really.
Yeah, that's it.
Dan, you seem a bit...
I'm tired, Steve. I think we've, yeah. Yeah. I haven't really got a lot else to say, if I'm honest. Like, I've run out of conversation.
Brilliant. That's great for stream, isn't it? We are going to be closing up soon anyway. So Lucas Dunn's saying here, I captained Gordon. Well, sorry. What did he captain again? Isaac, because they just score so many goals at home. You then have Animations. He said he's done the move. Dan, he's done Van Hector Vardiol. He's done it.
Risky, but should be all right. Should be all right.
I think he'll be absolutely fine. Other than that, I'll just quickly go through the YouTube chat league. Just quickly here. We did mention it earlier with Animations trying to push for the top 10. We got Harbour Boy, who is 34 points clear of Harry, FPL Harry. We then have Madeline Tudor, who's then 40 odd points behind Harry. Harry Dawson then is 4 or 5 points just behind Madeline Tudor, and it's really tight between Madeline, Harry, John, and then that's where the gap basically opens up really between 5th and 6th with John Harris. Dan, any final thought processes about this double game week so far before we get out of here?
Well, it'd just be interesting to see whether that single game week captaincy of Isaac would have been better than Son. Really, we'll know by the end of Thursday evening, and the end of the double game week, and then all the fun starts again on Friday evening, obviously. But no, I mean it's sometimes you have to have a bit of luck in FPL. I've had that today with Saka coming on, obviously. Getting me 10 lovely points off the bench, so very pleased with that. The Walker transfer paying off, but it's all building up to the big one in double game week 37. I feel like this is just a bit of a precursor to that event. That's when it's going to be make or break for a lot of people's seasons, in my opinion, with chips still to be played, because this particular double game is obviously only 2 teams that are doubling. And but some pretty interesting games, and we're top of the league, but unfortunately,
Just quickly repeat that last line, Dan, because you just cut. Well, it was me that actually cut off. I didn't actually quite hear it. I don't know if the audience did.
The last line is, it looks like City are going to do what they always do, which is click into gear, win all their games, and then win the bloody title again for the 100th millionth time in the last few years.
Yeah, I'm just aware of those sentiments, and just to kind of not want to repeat what you said, but yeah, it does seem like double game week 37 with a lot of people going to be playing the bench boost is going to be the key factor to the end of the season, because the triple captaincy ship is not going to be as effective unless, for argument's sake, Kevin De Bruyne was to come through with an absolute major haul in both, like 2 attacking returns in each game. So what's that? The equivalent of four attacking returns across 2 fixtures, and then if, for argument's sake, all the other bench players do absolute jack shit, but it's highly unlikely. Dan, as ever, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Sivo. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and best of luck with the rest of double game week 35.
What did you say your prediction was for Chelsea versus Spurs? I went 4-2 to Chelsea.
I'm pretty sure from memory I said 3-3.
We're both basically predicting lots of goals.
3-2, high scoring game. Should be a good watch.
Yeah, good. I agree with you. On that note, cheers everybody for tuning in live, and anybody that is watching on the replay, make sure you are leaving a comment. It really does help. Actually, why did I just say that? I've just annoyed myself by saying that then. But if you have enjoyed the stream, make sure you comment and just let us know what you think of the show. Other than that, if you are brand new around here, make sure you are hitting the subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting the like button if you have enjoyed the stream. If you haven't, then there is a dislike button. On that note, if you do want to join the Discord, the link is in the description. And other than that, there is a Patreon, but there's no point in joining that until next season, basically. Cheers all, and I will catch you, and me and Dan will catch you at some point next week. Cheers, everybody. See you later.